What's up, folks? Welcome to Nino's Corner.tv. I'm joined with Dr. Charles, a nutritionist, author. This guy knows it all. What's the author? You authored a book. You just wrote a book just recently. What is it called, sir?
It's called The Last Men, Liberalism and the Death of Masculinity, and it is about testosterone decline as a social and political problem.
And we're seeing this everywhere. On my show, I talk about it all the time. I have guests on all the time talking about the decline in masculinity. You know, if you just go back and look at like the 80s movies with like Sylvester Stallone, Arnold Schwarzenegger, the movies today are nothing like that. The men are feminine. The women are more masculine. You can blame a lot of this on propaganda, but I think it has to do with the chemicals in the food, being bombarded daily by stuff. And I know you're going to help me and my audience figure this out a little more closely, correct?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think you're right about the 80s action films. I mean, I grew up with Sylvester Stallone, Arnold Schwarzenegger, all that kind of stuff. And the contrast with today's action movies couldn't really be greater. And in fact, you know, it's quite a noticeable tendency, actually, that film studios now like to revisit old intellectual property and old movies and all that kind of stuff, and kind of replace male stars, you know, male heroes with female heroes. And you see it with things like, even with the Incredible Hulk, you know, you had She-Hulk, which was this kind of absurd kind of feminist version of the Incredible Hulk. But you're right, it's not just propaganda, it's not just conditioning. There is a deep biological transformation taking place, and that's really the main focus of my book, The Last Men. What's happening to testosterone? So testosterone is the master male hormone. It's the hormone that's responsible for making men men. Men and women both have testosterone, but men have much more testosterone than women do. Women have much more estrogen than men do. And testosterone is responsible for sexual differentiation right from the moment of conception. So in the womb, you get as a boy, you get a shot of testosterone. You get it as an infant, and then as a teenager, it's responsible for governing puberty, deepening of the voice. All the characteristics we associate with biologically being a man are governed by infusions of testosterone throughout early life. But what's happening? Well, year on year, 1% year on year, testosterone is declining. Now, this has been substantiated in a number of different scientific studies. The first big one was a study called the Massachusetts Male Aging Study that took place from the end of the 1980s into the early 2000s. Scientists looked at random men in the Boston area. They took blood samples at regular intervals over a 20-year period, and then they analyzed various different markers in the blood samples, including testosterone levels. What did they find? 1% year-on-year decrease. Now, that might not sound like a lot, or 1% a year, but 20 years, 20%, 25 years, 25%, 50 years, 50%. So it adds up very quickly. And other studies have substantiated this as well. In Finland, other American studies, in Israel. This seems to be a civilizational problem that we're seeing throughout the developed world, throughout the West, that testosterone levels are declining seriously at a precipitous rate.
This is the death of a species. I mean, what we're watching here, this is an extinction event. You know, it's happening through time, through year after year, decade after decade, but it's an extinction level type of event. You take away the male species, you take away the competitive alpha male is already gone, in my opinion. If you look at the younger generations, the 20-something-year-olds, they're very feminine. You know, I go to the gym, and I'll see kids that were younger than me. They have no swagger. They don't have that alpha presence. They don't have that king of the jungle look to them. They're just very feminine. They're doing their way. They may be muscular, right? They may have some muscles, but they have a feminine energy to them. The women in the gym are grunting and grueling, and they're more masculine than the men. This is completely upside down land, right? I have, you know, there's boxing events that happen in El Paso all over. People watch UFC, whatever. I see men running up to the women that are fighting like little girls, you know, like, wow, you're awesome. You're so awesome. back in my day, man, and I'm just saying this, in the 90s when I was growing up fighting, women weren't even allowed in the boxing gym. It was not a thing you did. You did not bring your girlfriend. I had an old boxing trainers back in the day. It just wasn't a thing. Everything is so upside down. And what I'm trying to get at here is it's almost like this whole thing, the propaganda that they're pushing on the media, the chemicals in the food. I don't know if it's plastics or what it is, but I am seeing it now more than ever, to where I can go to a restaurant, I can go to an airport, I can go to the gym, and it's like everybody's feminine. Every man is like, how can I help you at the register? You're just like, this is not normal. I've never, ever in my life seen anything normal, and I believe it's being engineered.
Well, I mean, certainly there are a lot of different factors at work here. And you mentioned quite a few of them, actually. I mean, testosterone declines if you are overweight, for example. And look, people are more and more overweight. I mean, obesity is a problem that gets bigger every single year, the food that we eat. But it's other things as well. It's exposure to harmful chemicals, which you mentioned. It's plastic chemicals. It's herbicides and pesticides. It's stain-resistant coatings. You know, even on things like frying pans and on clothes. There's a whole plethora of chemicals that we're exposed to on a daily basis that actually have the effect of reducing testosterone and increasing estrogen levels. And, you know, somebody like Alex Jones, for example, you know, he's been talking about this for a long time, and he was ridiculed in the early sort of 2010s for his gay frogs conspiracy theory, where he was saying, you know, they're putting chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay. He was talking about atrazine, which is the second most popular herbicide in the US. It's used everywhere. Atrazine.
Yeah, he was made fun of for so long for that. They made videos about it.
Yeah, they did. And so actually there is a chapter in my book specifically about the gay frogs conspiracy theory, and the fact, first of all, that actually when Alex Jones was talking about that, he was referencing mainstream science. So there had been a series of experiments that were carried out in the late sort of 2000s, early 2010s by a scientist called Tyrone B. Hayes. And he took African clawed frog larvae and exposed them to atrazine at environmentally relevant concentrations. So that's concentrations that you would find in American waterways. And what happened? He found that male African clawed frog larvae exposed to atrazine would reliably flip their gender, basically. So you could turn a male frog larva into a female frog, and that female frog could then produce eggs that were viable. So that female frog could then mate with a male frog. So you were completely flipping the gender of the frog. And that was reported in Natural Geographic and Science magazine. You know, that was, people were talking about that and they're saying, look, this is really worrying. This is a widely used chemical and it seems to have gender bending effects. If it's doing this to frogs, is it doing this to us too? But when Alex Jones got a hold of it and when he started talking about it, then of course it just became a dangerous right-wing conspiracy theory. You know, it's nonsense, it's made up, he's a lunatic. And so people stopped talking about it, but the problem didn't go away. And in fact, the problem has got much worse and continues to get worse. We continue to pollute our environment with these harmful chemicals. We continue to increase our intake of them. And it is having genuine gender bending effects, I think. Not only is it reducing testosterone, but I think it's actually contributing probably in no small measure to the rise of gender dysphoria and transgenderism. So, I mean, I do think you're right. I think that a lot of the kind of gender madness that we're seeing, the LGBTQI stuff, the rise of people, you know, thinking that they're homosexual, I mean, the numbers have skyrocketed. And it isn't just a social contagion. There is a social element to it. And you do get children who want to emulate each other. And there are studies that show, you know, if someone in their friendship group thinks they're transgender, then they're more likely to say they're transgender too. There's an element of that, but there's also actually this biological process that's taking place where people's hormones are being seriously messed with by harmful chemicals.
I wonder, there's a lot of people that are like, well, just take testosterone. And I think it's beyond that. I just feel like the testosterone doesn't even do enough. There's a lot of men on testosterone, and it seems like that's just not enough. I mean, would you recommend men taking testosterone hormone replacement therapy?
Well, I think in the majority of cases, men who have low testosterone don't have a congenital problem, meaning they're not born with the problem. If you have a congenital problem where you have low testosterone, then you're going to have to get on artificial testosterone to increase your testosterone back to normal levels. But I think in many cases, in the majority of cases, there are things that you can do, like lifting weights, sorting out your diet, fixing your sleep patterns, reducing your exposure to harmful chemicals. The question is really whether most men are likely to do that or not. And, some men will. Some men are motivated. Some men are motivated enough to get out there and fix their lives. But I think there's a significant part of the male population who probably won't be motivated enough to do all of the things, to make all of the lifestyle changes that are necessary. So, I think in many cases, testosterone therapy would be the easiest way to get men's hormonal levels back into the green and then give them a decent chance of actually being a man.
Well, here's something. I went to go see a comedian the other day, Brett Ernst, in Las Vegas, right? And he was talking about his, growing up in the 80s and 90s, and he's like, man, he goes, the gay dudes in the 80s and 90s got the gay dudes today beat. He goes, the gay dudes in the 80s and 90s were masculine. He goes, they were even masculine. They were muscular. They were, pulling up tile, fixing potholes. He goes, it was way different back then. He goes, today, he goes, I don't know what this is. And it's true. I mean, if you look around, it's almost like it's contagious or something, man. It's just spreading. More and more of these men are more and more feminine. I've heard back in the day, like in the 1930s, what a man's testosterone level was like, what, 1,500 was it? Something pretty high like that. I don't know if that's true. I'm asking you, but now today it's what, 200 or below?
Well, one of the funny things is that it's very difficult to find a fixed, agreed upon definition of what having low testosterone is. So this is one of the problems for men. If a man thinks he has low testosterone, he can go to a doctor or go to multiple doctors and he'll get multiple different answers. So one doctor will say to him, oh yeah, your testosterone is 200. Well, that's fine. That's within the reference range. You're okay. And another doctor will say to him, my God, you've got chronically low testosterone. You need to do something about this. So there is a big problem, I think, with people moving the goalposts. And actually, a lot of men who think they have low testosterone will go to the doctor. The doctor won't understand. I mean, the best way to do it, actually, if you think you have low testosterone, is to look at the kind of symptoms. Are you experiencing the kind of symptoms associated with low testosterone? Lack of motivation, lack of libido, anxiety, depression. Are you putting on weight? That kind of stuff. That's really what you need to look at. But I mean, I think what you were saying about it being contagious is interesting, and I think it's true. And I mean, part of the problem is that we live, I think, in a profoundly misandrist society. We live in a society where actually men's contributions aren't valued and they aren't understood either. I mean, I think you could ask a lot of men and a lot of women, what is a man? And they wouldn't be able to tell you, and they wouldn't be able to tell you anything good either. If they told you anything at all, it would be bad. They would say, they might talk about toxic masculinity, and they might say, we need to eliminate traditional forms of masculinity because actually it's a threat to progress, it's a threat to women's safety, etc. So I mean, it's a complicated and difficult problem to solve because you've got to address the biological stuff that's happening.
Well, hold on, unless it's a Muslim, right? The Muslims are allowed to treat their women a certain way, right? And
sure.
it's like, but that's okay with liberals. That seems to be totally fine. You need alpha males to protect the species. You need to have them. And if you're eliminating them, and then what are you going to be left with? What are the American women going to be left with? A bunch of Sharia Muslims moving in and mistreating everyone, but that's okay because they're not the white competitive alpha male. As long as they're not that, it's okay. It's mind fuckery here, man. That's what they're doing. It's all propaganda. It's pushed out in the mainstream, and people are buying into it.
Yes, yeah, they are. I mean, it's a strange kind of pathological altruism, I think. I mean, Jordan Peterson actually has spoken about this. He talked about how strange it was that a country like Sweden, for example, you know, incredibly progressive society where gender equality rules, probably the most gender equal society on earth. And yet, what are they doing? They're importing large numbers of fighting age men from the most patriarchal societies in the world. It's like, do the progressives not see the contradiction here, that, you know, you're eliminating patriarchy at home and then importing it from the Middle East? It is crazy.
It's all engineered. It's all strategic. It's a war tactic, man. That's exactly what they do. What they're doing in Europe, right? What they're doing there, bringing them all in, and then turning the male in Europe into a kind of docile little beta Charlie type passive male. What they're doing in Europe by importing these extreme ideologies and alpha male, Muslim alpha males that they're rigid in their thinking. They only think one way. They're abusive towards women. What they're doing in Europe, they were going to try to do in America with the open borders with Biden. So, I mean, we were watching that happen here, and luckily it's been stopped for the time being. But still, in America, everyone here is still like, ooh, toxic masculinity. You're just too much. You're just too much. But yet it's okay for women to get in the octagon and beat the crap out of each other. It's okay for women to get in the boxing ring and beat the crap out of each other. But whoa. If you're a man talking about that stuff, that's off limits. That's crazy.
What's also funny is that it's okay for a man to transition to a woman and beat the shit out of a woman in the octagon.
Yeah, exactly. Really? What's wrong with you? What's their rights? It's okay for them to go into the locker room, and it's crazy, man. I mean, it's upside down world. What's right is wrong. What's wrong is right. And it's ultimately, for me, what I see happening here, Doc, and let me know if you agree. This is to terminate our species. This is to end the species. Someone's behind this. This has been highly engineered, and this is happening more rapidly than people believe.
I think it is happening rapidly, and I think there is some evidence, definitely, that there is, certainly on the ideological level, that I think that people are definitely do support this. That this is what they want. That they do want traditional forms of masculinity to be eliminated, in large part because traditional forms of masculinity are a bulwark against tyranny. And look, I mean, we saw this during the pandemic. It was very interesting that during the pandemic, one of the main groups that opposed the lockdown measures, the social restrictions, actually was gym goers. And you know, there were these quite heroic examples actually of men who owned gyms, who refused to close their gyms because they said, look, people need to continue working out. You don't fight off a virus by isolating yourself and hiding away. You keep your body strong, you know, and so that's what we're going to do. We're going to make it so that people can continue to make themselves strong. That's that's how you fight off a threat. So it was, I mean, it was very, very noticeable actually that one of the main groups that resisted was gym growers, was men who have high testosterone. So, I mean, it's quite clear, I think, that actually testosterone in many respects is the enemy of this kind of left-wing open borders political radicalism. And so you can see why governments don't do anything about harmful chemicals reducing testosterone. I mean, it's a kind of slightly glib thing that I say, but I often say, look, if all of these chemicals that we're exposed to, all of these harmful substances, if rather than reducing testosterone, they increased it, governments would do something. They'd clean up the environment very, very quickly. They'd clean up the food supply. But because actually all of these chemicals mimic estrogen and they make us weaker, are more docile and anxious and depressed and unmotivated, there's not really that much of an incentive for government to do anything about it, because it makes everybody easier to govern.
What about the sperm reduction? What about reproduction? I mean, people are having less children, at least in America. The nuclear family's completely almost gone. That's another reason. What's your thoughts on that? The whole sperm reduction thing. I know men's libido is in decline.
Yep.
And it's when I was younger, going out in the 90s and early 2000s, 2010s, man, it's like you couldn't keep us away from the clubs and the bars and the women, right? We were savages, man, and women loved it too. Now it's completely different. Completely different. I don't know what women have to pick from today. I mean, it's slim pickings with men, and then if you do find a good man, he's probably impotent or his libido's down.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I mean, this decline in testosterone, this civilizational decline in testosterone, is part and parcel of a broader decline in reproductive health, and that includes sperm counts. So this is a big part of the book as well that I talk about, is sperm counts are declining precipitously. And actually, experts in reproductive health have predicted that by around about the middle of this century, it could be impossible for humans to reproduce by natural means, because sperm counts are declining so much. So they call this scenario Spermageddon. And if you just extrapolate the current trends in sperm count decline, by 2045 or 2050, the median man will have a sperm count of 0. And what that means is that 1/2 of all men will produce no sperm at all, and the other half will produce so few, it doesn't really matter, because you have to have a certain concentration of sperm in your semen even to have a chance to impregnate a woman. So, we are talking about an extinction level event. If these negative trends in reproductive health continue, then actually, yeah, we're probably going to have to find another way to reproduce if we want to continue the species.
Well, IVF clinics are booming in business right now. So many people are using them because people cannot get pregnant naturally, man. It's happening. And these are healthy younger women and younger men.
Yeah, no, it's true. And this is another thing. So it's the causes of the testosterone decline and the male fertility decline, these harmful chemicals, for example, but also the lifestyle factors like being overweight and not exercising and being exposed to electromagnetic radiation and not sleeping properly, all that kind of stuff. It all affects women too. And women's reproductive health is also taking a nosedive as well. And I mean, there was one study, for example, of a particular class of chemical that you find in non-stick pans. And it showed that women with the highest concentrations of this chemical in their blood had a 40% less likely chance to bring a live baby to full term than women with the lowest concentration. So, I mean, it's having a radical effect on women's fertility and health as well. So it's hitting both genders equally as hard.
Well, when I was watching Charlie Kirk, when he was alive, I was watching his mission. I call it a mission, a spiritual mission. He was really speaking about men's roles, women's roles, the nuclear family. And I just think he was such a threat to the establishment, such a threat to the agenda, right? And then I kind of look at everything that's playing out right now with Erica Kirk taking his place. And this is kind of off topic, but I'm watching how this is rolling out right now. And it's only something you can see throughout time, right? And what is she talking about? Well, I'm an independent woman. I can raise my kids. Everything Charlie talked against. All of a sudden she gets thrust into the spotlight. She's taken, and now she's reinventing all of TPUSA in her image, right? People are catching on though. But I tend to think to myself, wow, isn't that interesting? Isn't that funny? How this is all of a sudden turned around, and how she's preaching more the liberal side of things, bringing up guests that Charlie would have never had on stage. And I think about it, and I think, wow, was he just gaining so much momentum with the nuclear family, men's roles, women's roles, that they had to just stop him in his tracks, completely take him out, assassinate him, and then propel her into the spotlight to reinvent the movement? What's your thoughts on that? I'm curious.
Well, I mean, Charlie Kirk was a really, really powerful individual. I mean, he was the most powerful young conservative right-wing figure in America. He was the future of the movement, and he would have been, he would have continued doing what he was doing for decades, 20, 30, 40 years maybe. I mean, it's been I think it's been a devastating loss for American conservatives of one potential future. I mean, I had a little bit of contact with Charlie Kirk behind the scenes, and I can tell you, I mean, he was big into health and fitness. He really liked my work. We sort of sent each other messages about he was taking ice baths, like really working out and stuff, and doing red light therapy, and he really believed in young men and wanted to provide a positive example for young men. And I mean, he did, and he continues to even now. Even though he's dead, he is still, I mean, he's a martyr, basically, is what Charlie Kirk is. He is a political martyr, and it's extremely sad, but it is also inspiring. I mean, he gave his life doing what he believed in. That's an incredibly powerful example. But I think Turning Point USA is changing quite a lot, yes, and I don't know how much he would have approved of some of it.
I just don't think it's an accident, man. I just don't. I mean, I'm watching this right now, and everything he was out there preaching and teaching to the younger kids, especially, was completely against this narrative, today's agenda, and he was taking momentum.
I mean, I certainly think that, I mean, there's obviously a political motive of some kind to his murder. I mean, certainly, the left wanted him gone, of course, because
I think the right wanted him gone as well, because he would have won the presidency. I think it's both sides here. I think that's how deep this goes.
I think he could very well have been president himself, and certainly he would have been instrumental in electing future presidents. I mean, let's not forget, he was instrumental in returning Donald Trump to the White House. I mean, he really was. So, yeah, I mean, I can see that a lot of different people might very well have had an interest in him being gone. Yeah, I can see that.
So let me ask you this, Doc. I mean, what do we do? Like, we know the problem. We all see the problem. Mm-hmm. What do we do? I mean, this is such a, people are not taking this as serious as they should. Oh, it's all right. Men are starting to become a little more docile, a little more feminine. How that's not harming anybody? Oh, it's harming our species. It's harming the species. So what do we do about this? How do we change this? Do we get on hormone replacement therapy? What do we do?
Yeah, so I mean, it's a problem that has to be attacked from multiple different levels. So, there's the individual response, and there are things that we can all do as individuals to make our lives better, to improve our hormonal health. We can lift weights, we can change our diet, we can filter our water, reduce our reliance on plastics. But at the same time, then there needs to be a government response as well. There needs to be a political movement. And I mean, I've been very, very encouraged by Make America Healthy Again, and I was very supportive of RFK Jr. coming to joining the Trump campaign, leading this health crusade, which I think he is very, very well equipped to lead. But yeah, I mean, we need a sustained political movement that will actually take very, very seriously what is happening biologically to the species, and also what is happening to men in particular, because for so long, male problems have just been totally ignored. Men who've been talking about male problems have been ridiculed and made to look and feel stupid. So yeah, I mean, there's an individual response. We can all do things, but then at a political level, yeah, we need political leadership on these issues. We need new government regulations. We need government to change the way young boys are taught at school. I mean, we need to break away from this propaganda that demonizes young men and makes young men feel like they don't have a valuable contribution, like their instincts, then the basic instincts that you have as a man are wrong, or as a boy are wrong. So I mean, there's a lot of work to be done, and we don't have a lot of time either. Like I said, middle of the century, within 25 years, less than 25 years, we may not be able to reproduce by natural means as a species. So it's coming up really fast.
And so we need to make men great again.
Yeah, we do.
I mean, there's very few men even talking about this, man. I've noticed that, you know, I feel kind of like I'm a big dude myself. I'm about 6'5", 260, right? I go places and I talk to the younger guys, and it's like I feel like the old model Terminator, dude. Like I feel like I'm talking to something like an alien, like I'm an alien, you know. And all my friends my age and up are still pretty masculine. You know, it's a mindset, whatever. I have friends that are, you know, I grew up with athletes, Major League Baseball players, football players, basketball, the whole thing. We all hung out together, right? And now they're coaching. So I have a friend that's coaching in the NFL, and I won't say his name. He'll get really pissed off. But he's an offensive line coach for one of the pro teams in the NFL. And he was telling me, he's like, Dave, it's not the same. He's like, back when I was playing football for the Cardinals and New York Giants and all them, he goes, we were fighting on the field, man. We were throwing blows. We were punching our helmets. We were going at it. You had to break up a fight every practice. That's how high the testosterone is. He goes, now we get a fight maybe every couple weeks, and it's a small little skirmish, or they'll throw insults back at each other like two high school girls. He goes, it's nothing like the football I used to play, man. And if you watch football now, it's like flag football, man. It's like, oh, got to be safe. Oh, you grabbed him wrong. You touched him wrong. You tackled him wrong. It's flag football. They are absolutely eliminating this alpha male mindset out of sports and society altogether.
Yeah, well, sports has, you know, been one of the last holdouts, and I mean maybe the final holdout of this alpha male, your old school alpha male masculinity is special operations, special forces. You know, the kind of dudes who went in and grabbed Maduro, Delta Force. You know, I mean, they're alpha males. And there was that chap, that guy, I think it was the helicopter pilot, who Donald Trump gave the Medal of Honor, you know, the guy who landed the helicopter and he'd had his leg blown apart, you know. I mean, these are like warriors you could have seen on a medieval battlefield in the Stone Age, hitting each other with clubs in the head, you know. I mean, like they're real men, built for violence and you know, but also built for heroism and for leadership. Like they're not just stupid. I mean, these are clever guys, but they're also extremely tough, motivated, dedicated. But you know, there are even attempts to purge the military of guys like this. And so in the UK in particular, what you're seeing at the moment is you're seeing the left-wing government is pursuing former soldiers and members of the SAS. So that's the most elite special forces unit. They're pursuing them with legal cases, especially over things that happened in Northern Ireland, for example, you know, where the SAS and army served during the Troubles with the IRA. And again, I mean, I actually think that maybe they're doing these purges because these are the last alpha males. You know, these are if you're going to have some kind of resistance to a kind of left-wing tyranny, then it may very well come from highly motivated military guys who are trained. They know how to fight. You know, they could wage an insurgency, some kind of low-level guerrilla warfare. You want to get those guys out. You know, you want to
eliminate them completely.
Yeah, whatever. So, yeah, I mean, we are at a point actually where there are very few holdouts left for these old school alpha males, for their skills and for their dedication and their toughness, to be recognized and put to good use.
It's a scary future, man. AI is going to be running everything. It's going to be controlling the society. It's going to be men are not going to know who they are anymore. Women will be men will be women. This is crazy. Like what's coming, there'll be no need for men. And if you really look at like some of the men today, well, what are they really? There's no more real manual labor. You know, everyone's just kind of on their computers, on their phones, constantly go to an airport. Everyone's on their phone. You go to a mall. Nobody's even at the mall anymore. If they are, they're looking at their phone. Everyone's just absorbed into this cyber reality, right? And it's like all of this stuff we're talking about is going to be so old hat. it's going to be like, oh, that's when men had to do that stuff. They don't have to do this stuff anymore. They don't have to work anymore the way they used to. AI took all the jobs. I mean, people are just going to be like blobs in front of their computer with just a brain that works at like 2%, right? It's just that's what I see coming in the future. I mean, that's what's coming. And then they're going to depopulate all of us, and it's going to be like, you know, just a few of us left. No one can breed. I mean, that's where we're headed if we don't turn this around like yesterday.
Yeah, I think there's a potential future, yeah, where, I mean, what real chance do we have of living fulfilling lives in line with our biological nature? And I mean, men are always going to be needed so long as there are difficult problems to be solved. So long as you know, there are leadership is needed, toughness, discipline, self-sacrifice, and so long as we have a society where that's the case, then men are going to be needed. But yes, I mean, a potential future where everything is done by robots, where we're sort of glued to our screens all day long, constantly taking stimulants and pharmaceuticals, and we're medicated, and you know, I mean, there isn't actually really much scope there for anybody to live a fulfilling life, male or female.
100%. I got your book right here, The Last Men. So, Dr. Charles, man, how long is this book? It looks like a good book. I mean, I want to get it myself. They just go to Amazon. How long of a read is this? Is it a quick read?
It is about 300 pages. It's a comprehensive book. I think it's really the first ever book to look at testosterone decline as a political and social problem. Nobody's talked about this in this way. This book really is the first of its kind.
Beautiful. Doctor, I appreciate you coming on, folks. Get this book. Learn what the problem is, man. Our species is on the line here. Dr. Charles, I really appreciate you coming on.
It was a pleasure. Thank you.
Where do people find you?
You can find me on Twitter. I am the Raw Egg Nationalist on Twitter. I have a Substack, which is rawegstack.com. I regularly write for Alex Jones at alexjoneslive.com. I also write for American Greatness and The Spectator. But if you go to my Twitter, I mean, I'm constantly posting on there. I've got 330,000 followers. I post all my updates there. So that's the best place to go if you want to follow my work.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for joining me, Doctor. Stay with me just one moment, okay?